About 1.5 months ago, our Tri-UU Women for Women group met at Diane Carlin's home. The topic chosen beforehand was to share a story about a memory of much laughter and much fun. I had known the topic for several weeks, racking my brain to think of any time I could see myself as having fun. While some of the other women shared about groups of college friends or vacations or times with their families, I finally told a story about spending hours feeding peanuts to the pigeons and squirrels in the park while staying with my aunt. Even then, I couldn't really describe it as fun, just that I had an okay time. Maybe I enjoyed the experience. After our meeting, lost my place. After our meeting, I told Trish my predicament to come up with something that was fun. While talking with my therapist about this, she reminded me of my upbringing. As many of you know, my father was a Holocaust survivor whose first family had been murdered. I'm sure my father had enjoyed himself earlier in life with his wife and their baby. I'm sure he had celebrated that birth. And within a short period of time, it was all taken from him. Any hope he had had for his family was destroyed. The message to me, whether verbalized or through his actions with his second family, just my mother and me since I'm an only child, was don't enjoy life or it will be taken from you. My own mother, although born in the US, had a mental illness and came from a dysfunctional family, members of whom sexually abused me. Messages for me: I'm a victim without hope, damned no matter what. So, why am I telling you these awful things about my own life? Well, at a certain time when I was in my 20s, I recognized a dichotomy between my father's perspective of the world and that of the father of a friend, Laura. Her father had gone through similar life-changing horrors, yet still found ways to have fun. I remember he loved listening to opera and classically trained singers. I asked myself, why can't my father enjoy life? I realized then that my father was still holding on to that victim mentality. Survival was the most he could claim, was the most he would claim. Laura's father, while never forgetting those whom he lost, he made the decision to move forward with his life. Could it really be as simple as choosing? Could there be a life beyond merely surviving? So when did I make the decision about my own life? I know I should take the paper instead of this. In 1980, when I was 25, I had a terrible car accident. It took me many months to recover. During that time, I was a wreck physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. I thought I'd found the answers for the spiritual part when I really tried to become a fundamental Christian. Obviously, I struggled there with what others told me were the answers. Looking back at that time in my life, I do recognize one good thing that came from it. The accident brought me to my lowest point, forcing me to bottom out and seek help. Looking back, that was the first ray of sunshine, a speck of hope that life could be better in the future. Don't get me wrong. Finding this scrap of hope was not easy. It was not sudden. It was extremely painful and laborious to confront my thinking of myself as another victim of the Holocaust and of Hitler. I remember writing a letter to Hitler, telling him that I wouldn't allow him to take another Jewish life, mine. I also benefited from being in a group setting when I claimed my right to say no to my uncles who had taken advantage of me when I was a child and didn't know better. No. And this time, I had my therapist and members of the group to back me up while I declared my boundaries. When I was a child, I was isolated. There was nobody to protect or stand with me. Now there were others with me. Finding this fragment of hope was not a one-time thing. It's not found and forever kept. Through these years, I've sometimes forgotten about it and have needed to rediscover hope. I think of it as an onion, peel away one layer at a time, but then I think I'm back to where I started. However, it is a new layer. Each layer peeled gets smaller and smaller. New situations have at times triggered old messages that have continued to block my way towards happiness and self-fulfillment. One thing I used to take great pleasure in, aside from feeding squirrels, has been singing. I took voice lessons and sang with local choirs and even the Chicago Symphony Chorus. I also sang madrigals at Renaissance fairs and barbershop music. I would describe the feeling of singing a great symphony with a conductor, full orchestra, and 150 vocalists, such as Beethoven's Ninth. Think of the Ode to Joy, da 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 da, Freude. Okay, the Ode to Joy movement as the most exciting, fulfilling, and unifying thing in the world. In fact, seriously, I've been known to compare the feeling to an orgasm. Singing truly lit up my life and connected me with other people. I pursued vocal music in spite of my father's discouragement. He'd always say, "What's the sense? It won't bring you money." Anything that was fun, what's the sense? It's become a great loss in my life, knowing that I'm losing my voice as I'm getting older. Perhaps it started when I needed hearing aids. It's very hard to match pitch and hear myself in other parts while wearing hearing aids. And I've gotten better and better hearing aids, and it doesn't help. In addition, these last few years, I recognize that my range isn't as wide as it used to be. Of course, I can still listen to music, but it's not the same. So I'm grieving the loss of my voice. Maybe because I'm presently mourning the loss of my voice, this loss, I forgot to mention my joy for music when the group was discussing joys. I don't know yet what new experiences will make up for this loss. However, I choose to believe I'll find something. I know I need to find something for that passion. I have to constantly remind myself of times I've worked through barriers in the past. The fact that I made it through previous obstacles gives me the strength, hope, trust, and dare I call it faith, that I can get through present ones. Don't faint, but I'm actually going to quote not only from the Bible, but from Jesus. From Matthew chapter 17, verse 20. "Truly I tell you, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you." For financial reasons, Trish and I moved from California to the Villages in 2018. Since then, I've noticed a change in myself, and it's honestly a change I don't like. I had thought of myself as a kind person, yet I suddenly found myself acting unkindly towards others, even towards Trish, whom I dearly love. I think it was an outward expression of how angry and depressed I was feeling inside due to living here. I was feeling so separated from like-minded people. The necessary isolation and disconnection caused by the onset of COVID definitely didn't help. As I said earlier, before taking up today's collection, being part of our Tri-U family has helped a lot. Yet the state of the world, politics, and my feeling powerless against it all really brought me down. Then I took a small action. About 2 months ago, I saw something that Steve Burt had posted on Facebook about the IRS and Project 2025. There was a suggested action. I decided to follow through with the action. I haven't received a response, but the mere act of doing something made me feel empowered. It broke that cycle of hopelessness for me, if only for a moment. Last month, many of you joined Trish and me for a golf cart parade in the Villages. Those of you who were there or heard about it, didn't it feel great to be with like-minded people? Yeah, it did. And others who shared our values. That gave me hope and reminded me that when our values and actions are aligned, we can and will succeed and even create change. A few days ago, I came across a question on Facebook. I live there when I'm not working. And the question was, if you could have either $1 million or the ability to erase a mistake from your past, which would you choose? Without hesitation, I would choose $1 million. And it's not just because I want the money, because I've come to see that even my mistakes and the terrible things I've experienced have been opportunities for growth. They've made me who I am today, and to be honest, I'm happy with who I am today. So thank you. Through many years of therapy and hard work, I've managed to change my self-perception from victim to survivor. The quote by the Reverend Crawford, which I read for the invitation to centering, rings true to me. Why is this happening for me instead of why is this happening to me? What is the gift to me? Hopefully I've used some of these things as gifts to grow and to move forward. And by changing this one preposition, my perspective automatically changes. Unlike my father, who chose to be a survivor, I'm reaching further, choosing to be a thriver. We all have the power to move from hopelessness to hopefulness, from surviving to thriving. It won't be easy and it won't happen overnight, but it is possible. And in this journey, we are not alone. We have each other, mishpacha, and we have the strength within ourselves to create a life that is not just about survival, but about living fully and with purpose.